Chapter 579. In the small courtyard of the Great Xia Palace, a layer of light appeared in front of Lin Feng and the rest. In this light, the 5 deity kings and a few powerful first-level gods stood side by side, quietly looking at Thanos and the rest. On the side of the Great Xia Palace, only Ning Fengji, Tang San, Lin Feng, and Thanos stood in the center, daring to face the gods. As for the others, on one hand, they were afraid, and on the other hand, they were not qualified to speak under such circumstances. The following meeting was actually very simple. Thanos explained his plan and reasons, and the God realm strongly objected at first. However, as Thanos's explanation became more and more reasonable, especially when he mentioned the real-time monitoring and control of the Great Xia Empire, Tang San and Ning Fengji supported him. The God realm's response became more and more reasonable. Gradually, the God realm's reaction to this matter calmed down. After about half an hour of discussion, under Thanos's repeated persuasion, the God realm agreed to release 30,000 deity kings and see how it went. Actually, everyone in the God realm really didn't want this matter to succeed. However, Thanos's attitude was firm, and his words made some sense, so they agreed for the time being. As a condition, Bai Luo and Bai Shui had to monitor the entire process in Great Xia City, and the Great Xia Empire had to provide them with all the relevant data, and then let them make a real-time decision. Oh yes, the God realm also had another condition. After a year, they would send gods down to explore the world's origin. If the growth of the origin slowed down, this matter would have to be stopped. This matter was actually very harsh, because it was almost an inevitable result. As the number of soul masters increased, the absorption of energy would greatly increase. This way, the origin itself would not decrease, but the growth would definitely slow down. However, Lin Feng did not care about this, because his main condition was this 1 year. As long as he made good use of this 1 year, his strength would increase to an extremely powerful level, and he would not have to care about the conditions of the God realm. By then, he might have already reached the God realm. Just as Lin Feng was thinking about this, the expression of the God of Destruction suddenly changed. His spiritual power was relatively strong. While he was discussing with everyone, his spiritual power had been wandering around Grand Xia City, wanting to see the sales of the cultivation accelerator. However, just now, he had sensed a familiar yet unfamiliar aura. The reason why it felt familiar was that he seemed to have sensed the Dragon God's aura, and the reason why it felt unfamiliar was because this aura was different from the Dragon God's. Wait, could it be the Silver Dragon King? During the Great War of the Deity World, the Silver Dragon King was severely injured by them. Later on, it entered the space-time turbulence. Theoretically speaking, he was dead for sure. His chances of survival were extremely low. Even if she did survive, there was a high chance that she would be crippled, so the Divine Realm hadn't taken the initiative to search for Gu Yuna. But now, the God of Destruction sensed Gu Yuna's aura. This could only mean one thing: Gu Yuna was still alive, and she was in Dolua's world. Even though they did not know how powerful the other party was, just the fact that he was still alive was enough to shock the entire firmament. After all, this was the Dragon God, an expert who had seriously injured the entire firmament. If the other party came back, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, the God of Destruction immediately transmitted his spiritual power and told everyone around him about this guest. For a moment, the expressions of Lai Yen, Neptune, and the others all changed. This kind of thing was too shocking. Even if they were the strongest group of people in the firmament, they were still shocked. And because this scene was too sudden, no one hid it at all, and Lin Feng and the others saw it all. Tang San immediately transmitted his voice to Lin Feng. Feng Gu, did the negotiations break down? Why did these people suddenly change their faces? The main reason was that these gods' faces changed so quickly that Tang San thought that something had happened. On the other hand, Lin Feng was a little confused. What was going on? Why did they suddenly change their faces? Was this a performance of Sichuan opera? Even though he was puzzled, he did not feel any danger, so Lin Feng comforted Tang San. It should be fine. Mr. Destroy will take care of it. At this time, Thanos asked, "Are you not satisfied with the conditions we proposed?" However, Thanos did not immediately get an answer. At this moment, the god of destruction quickly transmitted the situation to Bai Luo and Bai Shui, who were in the Great Xia city. At the same time, their faces changed, and without any hesitation, they quickly spread out their spiritual power and flew in the direction of Bicky. This scene was so sudden that there was no time to explain anything. Bai Luo and Bai Shui suddenly attacked. Lin Feng was a little angry about this. After all, Dolua's world was now his territory. These two people did not even greet him and directly attacked him. This was not something he could tolerate. Seeing this, he did not waste any time and grasped the void in front of him with one hand. In the next second, the soul power around the Great Xia Palace vibrated, and a huge formation appeared out of thin air. The power of imprisonment attacked from all directions, and instantly froze Bai Luo and Bai Shui in the air, unable to move. This was also very sudden. The formation was hidden so well that even Tang San was slightly surprised. Obviously, he did not know about this. Bai Luo and Bai Shui had already covered the entire city with their spiritual power and locked onto Bicky. However, just as they stood up, they were suddenly frozen in the air by a huge force of imprisonment. The two of them subconsciously struggled with all their might, but this force of imprisonment was extremely strong. No matter how they struggled, it was useless. This made the two of them extremely surprised and confused. They did not know what was going on. The two of you attacked in the Great Xia city without any explanation. Even if you are God's envoys from the God realm, you should not be so presumptuous. Thanos's voice was still so calm, but at this moment, everyone could hear that there was a trace of anger in it. Just as Thanos said, even if Bai Luo and Bai Shui were God's envoys and had an extremely high status. However, this was the Great Xia city, the capital city of the Great Xia Empire. They represented the face of the Great Xia Empire. In a situation where both sides were on equal footing, the God realm attacked without saying anything. This was really not giving them any face. Everyone in the God realm was shocked. They knew that Thanos was special and extremely strong. However, in their hearts, Thanos's strength was equivalent to Bai Luo's. Together with Bai Shui, the two siblings could definitely defeat Thanos. Perhaps the two of them could not fight against the entire Great Xia Empire, but escaping from the hands of these people would be easy. However, now, Thanos did not even make a move. He only clenched his fist in the air, and the two of them were frozen in place, unable to move. This scene was simply too shocking. Moreover, because they were separated by a world, the sea god and the rest did not even see the formation. They did not know how Thanos did it. Although they were shocked, they still hurriedly responded to Thanos's word. "Elder Mia, please calm down. We've found a wanted criminal in the God realm. As this matter is too important and we want to prevent the criminal from escaping, we're a little anxious. Elder Mia, please let them go. As long as you can capture the criminal, the God realm will reward you handsomely." Everyone was surprised by Thanos's reaction. However, the most important thing now was to capture the criminal. As for the rest, it would not be too late to talk about it after capturing the criminal. Wanted criminal? What criminal? While he was stunned, Lin Feng scanned the entire city with his mind power and found Bicky immediately. Is she the wanted criminal that the sea god mentioned? After all, in the entire Great Xia city, it was impossible for anyone other than Bicky to be the criminal. Moreover, Lin Feng felt that it was impossible for Bicky to be the criminal as well. She was so weak that she was only equivalent to Dolua, who was at level 98 or 99. Furthermore, she had been staying in the Star Do Great Forest all this while. How could she be the wanted criminal of the god realm? Furthermore, Biki represented the soul beast race, which was an ally of the great Xia Empire. If this wanted criminal of the god realm was really Biki, no matter what, he could not let the god realm capture her. Thanos's fingertips moved slightly as he thought about this. In the next second, Bai Luo and Bai Shui were like rag dolls. They were controlled to fall from the sky and fly in front of everyone. Everyone in the Great Xia City is a citizen of the Great Xia Empire. May I know who the wanted criminal of the god realm is? At this moment, the atmosphere was still a little tense because Thanos's voice was very cold. During the negotiation, the conversation between the two sides had been very normal. However, Thanos could still sense that these people looked down on them from the bottom of their hearts. That kind of arrogance in his bones was not something that could be easily covered up. Regarding this, Thanos was a little uncomfortable. However, this arrogance did not affect him, so he would not really say anything about it. However, Bai Luo and Bai Shui had attacked them without saying anything. This was completely looking down on them. Lin Feng could make use of this opportunity to let these gods know that the Great Xia Empire was not a pushover that could be easily bullied. Yes. Bai Luo suppressed the shock in his heart and opened his mouth, ready to speak. However, he quickly realized that this was not something that he could decide. He immediately stopped talking and looked at the sea god and the others. At this moment, the situation was urgent. Without any hesitation, the god of destruction used his divine telekinesis to locate Biki and displayed the scene in front of everyone. This person is a wanted criminal of the god realm. I hope that Elder Destruction can capture her as soon as possible. Although his words were tactful, his tone was unquestionable. Thanos did not care about this at all. Instead, he said directly, I know this person. She's a partner of the Great Xia Empire. Since when did she become a wanted criminal of the god realm? Although he said not to expose the soul beasts, this was a special situation. Lin Feng still revealed some information. Of course, he did not reveal everything. Instead, he decided how much he would reveal based on the situation. Hearing this, apart from Tang San and Xiao Wu, the others were more or less confused. This was because they did not know about this at all. They did not know who Biki was. However, since Thanos had said so, they did not have any objections. They quickly accepted this. At this moment they were not afraid. Instead, they felt that the god realm had made a mistake. It was not easy to have such an attitude. In fact, it was very difficult to have such an attitude. After all, they were facing the god realm. A group of gods could easily crush them in terms of strength. If they dared to fight against them, they would almost certainly die. However, at this moment, the main reason why they had the courage to fight back was that they had a strong sense of belonging to the Great Xia Empire. In these years, due to the subtle influence, everyone's sense of belonging to the Great Xia Empire grew stronger and stronger. In their hearts, the Great Xia Empire was their home now. Under such circumstances, even if they were facing gods, they still dared to fight back. Moreover, even if the sky collapsed, the Tall Ones would hold it up. In the Great Xia Empire, the Tall One was Thanos. At this moment, Thanos's attitude was tough. They were also affected and felt more confident. Partner. The gods were stunned. They did not expect Thanos to say this. Bai Shui and Bai Luo's faces were also filled with confusion and disbelief. After all, previously, the two of them had specially investigated the Great Xia Empire. It was impossible that they did not pay attention to such an important matter. However, in their memories, there was no such thing. Therefore, when they heard this, they were very confused. Strictly speaking, this person is not a wanted criminal of the god realm. However, she has the aura of that criminal on her. She must be related to him. I wonder if Elder Slayer can bring her over so that we can ask her? At this moment, the sea god was the one who spoke. There was a hint of urgency in his tone. When Bai Luo and Bai Shui attacked just now, there was a huge fluctuation in their soul power. At this moment, Bicky was already on guard. If they did not act now, she might escape. Therefore, everyone in the god realm was a little anxious. The god of destruction was even prepared to forcefully cross over. Of course, this was just a thought. Bai Luo and Bai Shui were in the lower world, and were already putting a lot of pressure on Dolua's world. If he continued to forcefully descend, it would cause great damage to the origin of Dolua's world. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not descend to the lower world. I'm afraid that won't work. Thanos shook his head and said, "She is our partner. I won't forcefully bring her over. However, I can tell her the current situation and let her make her own decision." After the conversation just now, Lin Feng roughly understood that the so-called wanted criminal should be the strongest of the soul beasts, Gu Yuna. However, the Great Xia Empire had already negotiated a cooperation with the soul beasts. Both sides were allies. Also, the soul beasts were the foundation of his large number of believers in the future. It was related to his deity position and was extremely important. At this moment, the god realm looked like they were going to destroy the entire soul beast. For the sake of the alliance's reputation and his deity position, Lin Feng could not let Bicky be in danger. Most importantly, Lin Feng didn't know what was going on at all. He had to understand the specific situation before making a decision. Chapter 580. After hearing Thanos' words, the gods were anxious. What a joke! What they needed to do now was to be fast, accurate, and ruthless and capture Bicky in an instant. If the other party knew that the god realm wanted to capture her, wouldn't she just run away? This was related to the dragon god. If the other party found out this time, the threat to the god realm would increase exponentially. Thinking of this, the god of destruction immediately said, "No. This matter concerns the safety of the god realm. It must be kept a secret." Although Bicky was a little vigilant, she didn't know the exact situation, so she retreated a little and returned to Great Xia City. So in this case, they only needed to convince Thanos, and they would be able to catch Becky. However, at this moment, in the forest near Great Xia City, Tian and Red King, who were preparing to receive Bicky, realized that something was wrong. Especially Tian, he sensed the aura of a god and a strong sense of malice. This let him know that something must have happened in Great Xia City. Gu Yuna had previously instructed him to bring Bicky back. For her safety, Tian immediately said to Red King, "Let's go in and take a look." As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them quickly flew toward Great Xia City. The distance between the two sides wasn't far. Tian and Red King were both experts. In just a breath's time, the two of them arrived in Great Xia City. As they were rushing over very quickly and were a little anxious, the two of them didn't hide their soul power fluctuations. At this moment, not only did Lin Feng feel it, but even Bai Luo and Bai Shui felt it. Furthermore, they were able to sense that the two newcomers were also emitting the same sort of aura as before. This could only mean that the three of them were related to the Silver Dragon King. This was an extremely important matter. "Lord Divine King, I sense that the Silver Dragon King's subordinates are coming. They are all in Great Xia City now." Such an important matter, although Bai Luo was a little confused, he still reported it immediately. Moreover, because he was still restrained by Thanos, he couldn't transmit his voice and could only shout. Everyone present heard it in an instant. "Not good, they're going to run." This was the first thought in the minds of the people of the God realm. His second thought was, of course, to prevent them from escaping. At this moment, they had finally discovered the Silver Dragon King's tracks. If they let it escape, it would be extremely difficult to find them again. After all, with the other party on high alert, unless the firmament sent out a large number of people to search the entire continent, the chances of finding them were very low. The god of destruction could no longer sit still. Although he couldn't go down directly, there were other ways to capture the three of them. Thinking about it, the god of destruction immediately activated a secret technique. Using the divine mirror as a medium, he connected himself to Bailuo and blessed him with his divine power. In an instant, Bailuo's strength increased rapidly. The powerful energy waves shocked everyone present. Even Lin Feng was shocked. After all, he did not see the god of destruction's actions. He did not know what was going on with Bailuo's sudden increase in power. But in the next second, Lin Feng's expression changed. This was because he realized that Bailuo's strength had reached a ridiculous level. With just one burst of energy, he broke free from the control of his array. One must know that this array was specially set up by Lin Feng to protect the Great Xia Palace. The array used many precious materials, and Lin Feng had carefully set it up for several days. In the end, he had buried a large number of soul stones. Under such circumstances, it would not be easy to kill a god, but it should not be a problem to simply control the other party. That's right, the gods here were not priests like Bailuo and Bai Shui. In Lin Feng's opinion, even a first-level god should be able to be suppressed. After all, the other party had not been at his peak when he came to Dolua's world. It should not be a big problem to suppress him. But now, Bailuo had suddenly burst and easily broken free of his suppression. Furthermore, his spiritual power had become extremely strong. Lin Feng could feel that Bailuo's spiritual power had spread to the entire city in an instant. In the next second, he rushed out of the Great Xia Palace with unparalleled power. Seeing this, Lin Feng started to get angry. Originally, these people had spoken with a tinge of arrogance in their bones, and this already made him very unhappy. But now, the other party had actually directly made a move in the Great Xia Palace. Most importantly, he had said many times before, but the other party did not listen at all. This was really infuriating. At this moment, Lin Feng could not be bothered to continue enduring. No matter what the situation was, Bailuo wanted to forcefully make a move without giving any explanation. Furthermore, this was in the Great Xia Palace. This had already touched the bottom line of the Great Xia Empire. No matter what reason the other party had, this was not an excuse for them to act recklessly. No matter whether it was for the safety of the people in the Great Xia Palace or for the reputation of the Great Xia Empire, he had to do it. Thinking of this, Thanos waved his hand and dispersed the image of the Holy Mirror. At the same time, he transmitted a message to Tang San and Ning Fengji saying, "Control Bai Shui." As his voice fell, he got up and chased after Bailuo. In the same place, Tang San and Tang Chen did not hesitate at all. They immediately used all their strength to control Bai Shui. At the same time, the gods in the realm of the gods were somewhat stunned. On one hand, it was because the god of destruction had suddenly made a move. It was too sudden, and there was no time to discuss it. On the other hand, Thanos had actually directly isolated the image of the Holy Mirror. The Holy Mirror's detection ability was still very strong. Now that it had been isolated in an instant, Thanos' strength was not to be underestimated. Everyone had underestimated him. However, at this moment, they did not have time to be stunned. The Holy Mirror had been temporarily cut off, and Bailuo, who was controlled by the god of destruction, was instantly affected. He immediately said to the few god-kings around him, "Everyone, help me. I will immediately capture those little bugs." Without further ado, the gods still had a tacit understanding. Immediately, someone channeled divine power to the god of destruction to maintain the support of Bailuo's divine power. On the other hand, someone was also reactivating the Holy Mirror and preparing to connect it to a place outside the Great Xia Palace. Although Thanos was strong, it was already good enough that he could affect the entire Great Xia Palace. Right now, if they connected the Holy Mirror to a place outside the city, there would definitely be no problem. At the same time, in the great Xia Palace in the lower realm, under the God of Destruction's instructions, Bai Luo immediately locked onto Biqi and Di Tian's position. In just a breath's time, he was above the three of them. Below him was a small square in the north of the great Xia Palace. At this moment, the square was filled with people. After sensing the aura of an expert, Di Tian and the others immediately came here. The other party's speed was too fast. By the time they realized it, it was already too late to run. Standing in a place with more people was the best solution for now. After all, this was the Great Xia Palace, the capital of the Great Xia Empire. If the other party saw so many people, he would most likely not do anything. At the same time, they were very confused. Everything was fine before, so why did the Great Xia Empire suddenly change their mind? They even directly sent people from the realm of the gods to kill them? Although they were confused, Bai Luo's aura was too strong. Di Tian and the others had never seen such an expert before. He was even comparable to Gu Yuna. Against such an expert, they knew that their chances of winning were very low. They could only defend for a while, observe the situation, and then act according to the situation. However, what was different from what Di Tian thought was that Bai Luo's temperament was also affected by the God of Destruction's divine power. At this moment there was a trace of ruthlessness. In addition, as a god, Bai Luo looked down on the mortals in the lower realm. At this moment, even if Di Tian and the others were in a crowd, Bai Luo did not have any plans to hesitate. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to capture these people and interrogate them to find out Gu Yuna's location. As for the consequences of doing this, it was not within his consideration at all. Just like this, after arriving above the three of them, Bai Luo directly made his move. His divine power shackled downwards, directly enveloping the entire square. Seeing this scene, Di Tian's face was filled with shock. However, he knew that now was not the time to be stunned. He had to resist this attack. As he thought about this, he transmitted his voice to the Red King and Bai Ji. The three of them worked together and used their soul power to form a protective barrier. They wanted to resist this attack together. However, just as they were about to combine their soul power, Thanos suddenly appeared beside Bai Luo in the sky. "How dare you!" he shouted. In the next second, the entire sky was covered by a layer of colorful light. Furthermore, there was a ray of colorful light that shone brightly and tightly wrapped around Bai Luo. Bai Luo's attack was still faster, and he was already rushing downwards. However, under the protection of the colorful light, other than the light flashing a few times, there were no more ripples. Below, the citizens of Great Xia City saw the colorful light above their head. They all looked up curiously. Originally, Di Tian and the others were still very powerful when they attacked. The three of them were prepared to reveal their identities. However, when the colorful light shone, it attracted everyone's attention. The three of them were stunned for a moment. "Wait!" Di Tian immediately stopped the other two. At this moment, Di Tian, Bai Ji, and the others were very confused. After all, the people from the godly realm were about to kill them. In the next second, Thanos came to stop them. What was the meaning of this? The main thing was that this was too magical. Di Tian could not understand what the Great Xia Empire was trying to do. Just as the three of them were slightly confused, Thanos and Bai Luo started fighting in the sky. Bai Luo's strength should have been boosted by external forces. He became very strong. However, Great Xia City was Lin Feng's home ground. There were many formations in the city. Lin Feng could borrow their strength. Furthermore, his strength had increased greatly recently. Under the influence of many factors, Thanos' avatar was still able to resist Bai Luo's attacks, even though he was suppressed. At the same time, under Lin Feng's instructions, Daming rushed towards Di Tian and the others. He was prepared to explain the situation to them. "Thanos, you've got guts. How dare you stop me from enforcing the law in the godly realm?" Bai Luo's eyes were faintly red. His voice carried a tinge of anger. His aura changed greatly. It was obvious that there was an expert from the godly realm who was using Bai Luo's body to talk to Thanos at this moment. Furthermore, there was a ripple of god power in his words. It was very strong and even affected everyone in Great Xia City. Seeing this, Thanos calmly said, "Although the realm of the gods is noble, our Great Xia Empire is not to be trifled with. In my Great Xia City, you have to abide by the rules of our Great Xia City. Your Excellency, you really shouldn't have committed such crimes." As he said this, Lin Feng's soul power surged. An amiable energy filled the entire city, calming everyone down. Furthermore, as he spoke, Lin Feng's hands were not idle. The thousand-trickster ruler turned into a long rod and fought with Bai Luo. Bai Luo had a pair of glowing silver bracelets in his hands. It should be a powerful divine weapon. Even though Lin Feng's thousand-trickster ruler was much stronger, it was only a draw. Of course, the energy in Lin Feng's body could only be considered a special type of soul power. However, Bai Luo was using god power. There was a qualitative difference between the two. If Lin Feng could condense a godly seat in the future, his strength would increase greatly. Bai Luo growled, "Since you're so stubborn, then die." As soon as he finished speaking, the silver bracelets in Bai Luo's hands shone brightly. They were like dragons swimming around and smashed towards Lin Feng. Thanos was important, but Gu Yuna's matter was obviously more important. After all, it concerned the safety of the entire godly realm. There was no comparison between the two. At this moment, the god of destruction made the right choice. Since Slayer Lord wants to stop me, then go to hell. At this moment, with the support of the god of destruction, Bai Luo did not hold back at all. He attacked with all his might, smashing towards Thanos. From Thanos's point of view, this attack was extremely mysterious. Not only did it contain the power of the laws, but it also sealed the space and was filled with the intent to destroy everything. However, Thanos did not panic at all. This was because he knew that although this attack was powerful, it was still within the rules of Dolua's world. In Dolua's world, Lin Feng's understanding of space had reached the pinnacle. Bai Luo did not seem to be good at this and used the power of space to imprison Lin Feng in front of him. This was like showing off 5 consecutive whips in front of Master Ma. What a joke! Thanos only raised one hand and soul power surged out. The surrounding space was instantly cut open. Although he was still standing on the spot, Bai Luo's bracelets were stuck in midair, unable to move an inch. In the next second, the long rod in Thanos's hand changed rapidly and turned into a giant net, directly grabbing the bracelets. Seeing this, Bai Luo was completely stunned. In the godly realm, the god of destruction was also stunned. Then, his heart was filled with disbelief. How is this possible? This attack was equivalent to the ultimate attack of Dolua's world. It had reached the pinnacle of the world. But now it had been resolved so easily. How could Thanos be so strong? How could such an existence not have condensed a deity position? Chapter 581. In the Realm of Gods. When Thanos and Bai Luo were fighting, the Realm of Gods Committee had already reconnected the Mirror of Gods to the forest outside of Xia City. Through the screen, the gods also saw the great battle between the two of them. They even saw Bai Luo's final full-powered attack. When the attack was easily blocked, everyone was shocked. Perhaps this attack was nothing to the people of Dolua's world, because the people in the lower realm did not know what it meant. However, as the experts of the realm of gods, all of them were level 1 gods and above. They knew how much suppression the lower realms had on them, especially the Dolua world, which was currently the strongest world in the lower realms. If they went to Dolua's world, the power of a god official would be suppressed to level 99. A level 2 god would be at the level of a demigod, while a level 1 god would be at level 100. When a god king descended, the power he could unleash would be the limit of the realm. Although the god of destruction only added his power to Bailuo, it was equivalent to him descending personally. Under such circumstances, Thanos had easily dispelled his attack. How could this not shock everyone? Although they could forcefully unleash power that surpassed the realm, it was not an easy task. On one hand, it would damage the origin of the realm. At the same time, the backlash from the origin would damage their godly position. They would have to pay a huge price. Hence, under normal circumstances, they would not forcefully attack as there was no benefit in doing so. However, Thanos's power was too shocking. They felt that if they wanted to capture Gu Yuna, they would have to use even more power. Just as the god of destruction had this thought, in the lower realm, in the Star Do Great Forest, Gu Yuna had also discovered the situation in Disya City. She did not hesitate and quickly rushed over. The people of the realm of gods had attacked Dtion. No matter what the result was, she had to go over and understand the situation. Of course, she would not attack. After all, compared to Dtion and the rest, she was more important. As long as she lived, the soul beasts would have hope of revenge. Gu Yuna's speed was extremely fast. When she arrived, Thanos and Bailuo had just unleashed that shocking attack. Then, Thanos grabbed the silver bracelet with both hands. With a burst of 7-colored light, the silver bracelet turned into specks of starlight and dissipated. Because the light was too bright, ordinary people couldn't see it at all. Only Dtion, Gu Yuna, and Bailuo saw it. That's right, the god of destruction of the god realm. He also saw this scene through Bailuo. "The ring of Or is broken," he muttered. Although the ring of Or was only a low-grade artifact, it was still a divine artifact. It contained the power of the god world, and was protected by the laws of the world, making it almost indestructible. Even if it was him, he would need a lot of time to destroy the artifact. However, Thanos had destroyed the artifact in an instant. Furthermore, he had used a method that he had no idea about. It was simply too shocking. Although he was shocked, the god of destruction knew that the situation was urgent. He had to deal with Thanos as soon as possible. As he thought about it, he immediately said, "Bailuo's body is a little weak. He can't withstand my full power. Think of a way to descend. As long as we can kill Gu Yuna this time, even if the origin of the Doloa continent is damaged, it will be worth it." Just now, the god of destruction was prepared to kill Thanos with all his might. However, he sensed that Bailuo's body was too weak and couldn't withstand his power at all. Therefore, he could only let the other god kings descend and think of a way to kill Thanos. As for the first-level gods, they should be able to kill Thanos, but the backlash would be too strong. They would have to bear the consequences. Only when God-King level experts descend to the lower realms would it be safer. Hearing this, all the gods were stunned. They knew that the situation was urgent and that it was not the time to be calculative. Even if the origin of the Doloa continent was damaged, it would be unavoidable. "I'll go down. You guys bring Bailuo and Bai Shui back by force." Ji Dong sighed. He didn't really want this to happen, but the situation was beyond his control. Now that things had developed to this point, Thanos had to die. Otherwise, if Biki and the others escaped, it would be difficult for them to catch him in the realm of the god. "Alright," the god of destruction immediately said. "Ji Dong, go down and kill Thanos. The rest of us will use the power of the Divine Mirror to bring Bailuo and Bai Shui back by force." The Divine Mirror was known as the strongest artifact in the realm of the gods not only because it cost a lot to make, but also because it had powerful functions. Not only could it monitor the lower realms, but it also had many other special functions, such as bringing people to the realm of the gods. Of course, there were restrictions. One had to be from the realm of the gods or have been here before. Otherwise, the Divine Mirror couldn't bring people up to the realm of the gods because of the rules. Otherwise, Bailuo would have brought them up when he went to find Thanos. Okay. The gods nodded and prepared to bring Bailuo back. On the other side, Ji Dong was also beside the divine mirror, preparing to be teleported into Dolua's realm. The place he was going to be teleported to had a lot of energy waves and the space was unstable. Even though Ji Dong was a god king, he still needed some time to prepare. Similarly, the divine mirror needed a lot of time to bring Bai Luo and Bai Shui back by force. During this time, Thanos, who was in the sky above the great Xia city, was not idle. He realized that Bai Luo didn't listen to him at all. In addition, Bai Luo looked down on the great Xia Empire. Thanos was furious. He had to teach Bai Luo a lesson today. At the same time, in the great Xia city, Daming had finished explaining to Di Tian and the others. At this time, he said, "The three of you, let's leave the great Xia city quickly. The reason Elder Mia and Divine Envoy Bai are fighting is because of Biki. As long as we leave quickly, they will stop fighting soon." The God Realm only said that Biki and the others were wanted criminals. However, they didn't say anything else. Therefore, Daming didn't know anything about the Silver Dragon King. At this time, he said these words purely from the standpoint of an ally. Hearing this, Di Tian also hurriedly said, "That's right. Let's leave quickly." Actually, if Daming hadn't come over, Di Tian would have left with the others. After all, Thanos was helping them to hold back the strong enemy. This was the best time to escape. As long as they ran a certain distance and hid their aura, the chances of being discovered again would be very low. However, Di Tian was worried that they would implicate their master. Now that the God Realm had noticed them and even found out about their master, the next step would be a large-scale search. Just thinking about this made them feel a little hopeless. After all, the Soul Beast division was too weak. If the God Realm came down to search, they would only send experts. Under such circumstances, the chances of them surviving were too low. However, from the great Xia Empire, no, more accurately speaking, from Thanos, they saw a little hope. According to Daming, Thanos's attitude just now clearly showed that they were allies. Now that he had displayed his strength, if they could grasp the relationship between them and strengthen their relationship, the Soul Beast clan might be able to survive this crisis. Of course, the most important thing now was to escape from Great Xia City. Just like this, under Daming's lead, the four of them rushed out of the city. In the sky, although Bai Luo knew that he was about to be taken away, Biki and the others were the main targets of the God Realm. Even when he was fighting with Thanos, he had been observing the three of them. Seeing that they wanted to run away, he directly shouted in the sky, "Slayer Lord, you have to think clearly. Those three people are the criminals of our celestial realm. Now that you are blocking me alone, at most, you will be the only one who will die. But now that the Great Xia Empire wants to let them go, it means that the Great Xia Empire wants to be the enemy of the God Realm. After this, we will settle the score together." If the matter was considered small, it would be Thanos's problem alone. Moreover, the heavenly realm would only count the small ones. At most, they would just kill Thanos. They wouldn't kill the others. After all, the people in the Great Xia Empire were the most outstanding people in the Dolua continent. If they were killed, it would affect the growth of the Dolua continent. But now, they wanted to let Biki and the others go. This touched the reverse scale of the God Realm. The God Realm does not care about the Great Xia Empire. They attacked as they pleased, and did not even tell us the reason. I can only say that the Great Xia Empire is not easy to bully. These words were not said by Thanos but by Tang San. Just now, Bai Shui was suddenly wrapped in a ball of light and disappeared without a trace. Then, Tang San ran over. At the side, Tang Chen also followed closely behind without the slightest hesitation. Then, Ning Fengji, Tang Hao, Dolua Golden Hoop and the others also rushed over and flew behind Thanos. The actions of the deity's realm had been witnessed by everyone earlier. They had truly gone too far. Now, they were threatening the Great Xia Empire. At this moment, everyone was probably influenced by Thanos. There was no fear in their hearts. They were all angry. That's right. Lin Feng also flew over and said loudly, although the God realm is strong, the Great Xia Empire is not a pushover. You attacked without a reason and did not care about the safety of the Great Xia Empire. This is the enemy of the Great Xia Empire. The main thing was that Bai Luo's performance was too arrogant. He did not care about them at all. This was a kind of insult to them. Ridiculous. Bai Luo laughed disdainfully. Stubborn. You're really digging your own grave. At this moment, Bai Luo was supported by the god of destruction's divine power. His personality was greatly affected. The way he spoke was also like a different person. The God King is about to descend. When that time comes, not only will Thanos die, the Great Xia Empire will also suffer the wrath of the God realm. Hearing this, Lin Feng was slightly nervous. After all, that was the God King. Now that he was so powerful just from a distance, when the God King really descended, he would have to go all out to have a chance of stopping him. What Lin Feng was most afraid of was that there was more than one God King in the lower realm. If there were two or more, Lin Feng would be in danger. If things did not turn out well, he could only escape and hide first. However, Lin Feng did not regret his decision at all. After all, the God realm was bullying the Great Xia Empire. It was too infuriating to be so unscrupulous in the Great Xia Empire. Just as Lin Feng was thinking of countermeasures, outside the city, Gu Yuna frowned. The God King was about to descend? If the God King wanted to thoroughly investigate the Doluo world, she might be able to continue hiding. However, it was basically impossible for her to recover her strength. Moreover, in the future, she would have to worry about being discovered at all times. She had to be extremely cautious. For Gu Yuna, it was too torturous. Therefore, at this time, after hearing this, she was more worried than Lin Feng. You people from the God realm are really impressive. The God King, right? Let him come down. Let's see what he's capable of. In the sky, Xiao Wu shouted. As the saying goes, the newborn calf is not afraid of the tiger. It was probably referring to people like Xiao Wu. However, at this very moment, it wasn't that Xiao Wu shouldn't have said those words. It was just that she was ignorant and fearless. However, when these words were said, it made everyone sympathize. What was the God realm doing? So what if they were powerful? Mr. Destroy had warned them, but they were still so rude and unreasonable. If they wanted to start a war, then so be it. Perhaps it was because Thanos had always been invincible and had easily destroyed the martial spirit palace. Even if the God realm was incomparably powerful now, everyone trusted Thanos unconditionally. As long as Thanos led them, even if it was the God realm, they believed that they could win. Good. Very good. Bai Luo was so angry that he laughed. Since you want to die, then don't blame us. In the eyes of Lin Feng and the others, the God realm was looking down on the Great Xia Empire. Moreover, they were humiliating them at this time. Their direct purpose was to be enemies with them. In the eyes of the God realm, the people of the Great Xia Empire deserved to die. They actually stopped them from capturing the Silver Dragon King's claws. This was related to the safety of the God realm. It was so important, but the other party wanted to stop them. They deserved to die. In fact, it was also because the God realm was a little excited when they suddenly found out about Gu Yuna's information. In addition, the situation was urgent and they subconsciously looked down on the people of the lower realm. This made them even think about explaining. Therefore, at this time, there was such a situation of confrontation. Of course, there was another main reason, and that was that the people of the Great Xia Empire were more stubborn. This incident was just a fuse. Even if this did not happen, as time passed, both sides would still clash. At this moment, the emotions of both sides became incomparably agitated. In the distance, Gu Yuna's expression was also very serious. When Di Tian and the others ran out, Gu Yuna contacted them and quickly communicated with them. Then, she found out about the situation. Thanos was going against the God Realm for them. At this time, there was a God King level expert who was about to descend. Gu Yuna was very conflicted. Should she make a move now? Chapter 582. Originally, Gu Yuna's plan was to not take action and hide to avoid being searched by the God Realm. But now, she realized that the Great Xia Empire was much more righteous than she thought. They actually chose to fight the God Realm for the sake of the Soul Beast clan. This meant that the God Realm was firmly on their side. In addition to the strength that Thanos displayed, he was a strong ally. If Gu Yuna did not take action and the God Realm killed Thanos, she might not have a chance to counterattack the God Realm in the future. As the saying goes, without the skin, where can the hair attach? After the God Realm killed Thanos and the rest, their next target would be the Soul Beast clan. As long as the God Realm was willing to spend time and had the God King to lead the search, they would be found one day. This was a slow death. After understanding this, Gu Yuna knew that she had to take action today. Otherwise, the Soul Beast clan would be finished. Also, she had to save Thanos. His elixir of wisdom was the hope of the Soul Beast clan. Thinking about this, Gu Yuna directly transmitted her voice to Thanos. Elder Mia, the God King is very powerful. If we fight, the living beings will be wiped out. I know your spatial ability is not weak. I have a plan that can protect Doloa World for 100 years. This transmission was very sudden and sounded in Thanos's ears. In an instant, he knew that it was Gu Yuna transmitting her voice to him. That aura could not be wrong. Thanos was very curious about her words. What method could ensure the safety of the Doloa World for 100 years? He knew that Gu Yuna was very powerful. But to say that she could deal with the God King or even the entire God Realm for 100 years was really unimaginable. Thinking about this, Thanos immediately asked, "What plan?" Gu Yuna told him about his spatial ability. This plan should be related to space, but Thanos could not think of it. In the next second, Gu Yuna continued to transmit her voice, the boundary wall that seals off Doloa World. The Doloa World is still quite important to the God Realm. They can't possibly destroy it, so we only need to thicken the boundary wall. If they want to enter, they will have to slowly wear down the thickness of the boundary wall. Hearing this, Thanos roughly understood the situation, but he still had many doubts in his heart. So he immediately asked, "The boundary wall is so big, how can it be strengthened to last for 100 years? Wouldn't that consume an astronomical amount of energy?" That's right. It does require a large amount of energy, but this energy is provided by our Soul Beast clan's formation. Later, you just need to find the right time to seal this place when this fellow leaves Doloa's world. The Lake of Life was the source of energy for Gu Yuna's recovery. Even though some of it had been absorbed by the thief, there was still a huge amount of energy in it. Originally, it was used to restore her to her peak state. Now, it was used to seal Doloa's world. The reason why he hadn't used it before was very simple. Once this thing was used, it was equivalent to lighting up the entire Doloa's world. It would instantly attract the attention of the God Realm. So in the previous situation where she needed to hide, Gu Yuna wouldn't seal Doloa's world. Now that she had been discovered, she could only use it. Moreover, there was a very important reason why Gu Yuna made such a choice. That was because Thanos' spiritual wisdom potion gave her hope. 100 years might be a short time, but as long as the Soul Beast clan really opened their wisdom on a large scale, Gu Yuna would continue to thicken the boundary wall. 200 years, 300 years, even 1,000 years, 10,000 years. As long as she still had energy, she would continue to maintain it. After all, after the Soul Beast clan opened their wisdom, their cultivation speed would increase greatly. As long as Gu Yuna could persist long enough, the strength of the Soul Beast clan would increase even more. Was this risky? Of course it was risky. But at this moment she had no other choice. Either she perished in the pursuit of the God Realm, or she chose this glimmer of hope. Sealing Great Xia City, no problem. Thanos nodded and agreed to this plan. Lin Feng didn't think too much about this. It would be best if they could succeed. If they could fight for 100 years, he would definitely be able to increase his strength greatly. After 100 years, even if he had to face the God Realm, he wouldn't be too nervous. Even if they didn't succeed, there wouldn't be any losses. Anyway, he had already prepared a plan. Even if Gu Yuna didn't make a move, she would have a way to deal with it. Just like this, the two of them quickly communicated through voice transmission. In an extremely short period of time, they had completely discussed the plan. At this moment, Bai Luo was still saying threatening words, but he was waiting for the God Realm's guiding force to appear. Secretly, Gu Yuna had already activated the power of the array and started to thicken the boundary wall at the edge of the world. On Lin Feng's side, he also activated the array in Great Xia City and strengthened his spatial power. He was ready to seal Great Xia City at any time. The others, such as Tang San and the rest, were also under Lin Feng's command. While they were guarding against Bai Luo, they were also secretly gathering their soul power, ready to support Thanos at any time. Time passed by bit by bit. Suddenly, a guiding force exploded from Bai Luo's body. In the next second, he disappeared from the sky and entered the God Realm. "Let's do it!" At this moment, Slayer Overlord shouted, and everyone moved. The array on Gu Yuna's side was activated quickly, and the boundary wall of Dolua's world was thickening rapidly. At the same time, on Lin Feng's side, with the help of the array, spatial power gushed out and sealed the entire Great Xia City and the space within a 10-mile radius. At the side, Tang San and the rest also stirred up their soul power, causing the space in Great Xia City to become extremely unstable. In the God Realm, when Bai Luo returned, Jidong also activated his divine power and flew towards Great Xia City. However, in the next second, when he used his divine power to tear the boundary wall, he realized that the boundary wall was extremely hard and he couldn't tear it apart. In the beginning, he didn't pay much attention to it and was prepared to use more energy. However, he soon realized that things weren't that simple. At this moment, it was visible to the naked eye that the boundary wall of Dolua's world was thickening rapidly. At the same time, the space became a little chaotic. Originally, the Divine Mirror was very clear about the situation in Great Xia City. However, now, the image was blurring rapidly and the connection was broken. Moreover, all the gods could sense that Dolua's world was disappearing. It wasn't disappearing in the sense of space. Instead, it was hiding in a sense. The boundary wall was getting thicker and thicker. It was also getting harder and harder for them to sense the situation in Dolua's world. At this speed, it wouldn't be long before they couldn't sense the situation in Dolua's world at all. However, the boundary wall was getting more and more obvious. It was like a huge light bulb. Everyone could notice the difference in Dolua's world. Just when the gods in the God Realm were stunned, Jidong was trying his best to enter Dolua's world and kill Thanos. However, no matter how hard he tried, the boundary wall was extremely hard. He couldn't enter at all. The rules of the entire world were against him. At this moment, if Jidong wanted to enter Dolua's world by force, he had to destroy its origin. Other than that, there was no other way. Thinking of this, Jidong's expression changed slightly and he returned to the God Realm. At this moment, in the lower realm, Lin Feng could sense the heavy wrapping feeling in an instant. His eyes were filled with shock. After all, the wrapping feeling came from all directions. This meant that in just a few seconds, the boundary wall of the entire Dolua's world was being strengthened. Such a huge amount of energy was too shocking. In fact, this wasn't all. Lin Feng could only see the energy consumption on the surface. Secretly, this was also a manifestation of Gu Yuna's extreme use of the rules. The strengthening of the boundary wall wasn't something that could be strengthened simply by the consumption of energy. It was equivalent to an analysis of the world's origin and an extreme understanding of the rules. Fortunately, Guyuna had inherited the power of the dragon god's rules and was extremely proficient in various elements. Combined with a huge amount of energy, she was able to seal Dolua's world in a short period of time under such circumstances. At this moment, Guyuna didn't relax at all. She stood in midair and her body emitted a dazzling silver light. Faintly, a silver dragon's shadow appeared and it was emitting a huge pressure. Seeing this, Tion, Scarlet King, Bicky and even Daming were in awe. The suppression and resonance of the bloodline made them unable to think of anything else at this moment. Their hearts were filled with reverence. As they weren't far away, Lin Feng also sensed the situation here. Everyone, disperse and be on guard around Great Xia City. After Thanos instructed everyone, he immediately flew over. Due to the battle earlier and by Luo's words, the Soul Masters in Great Xia City were still a little flustered. Yes. Hearing this, everyone nodded and immediately dispersed. Although they didn't hear Guyuna's voice transmission, Thanos roughly explained the situation just now. At this moment, Dolua's world had undergone a huge change. This was something that they knew. Under such circumstances, everyone had to be alert. Elder Mia, on behalf of the Soul Beasts, I express my sincere gratitude to you. Just as Thanos approached, Tion welcomed him with a face full of gratitude. Behind him, Bicky and Scarlet King also hurried over. Daming instantly came behind Thanos. Further away, Guyuna was operating the formation with all her might and didn't have time to come over. After all, this was to strengthen the boundary of the entire Dolua's world. She had to ensure her safety first. Thanos only nodded slightly. Then, he said to Daming, let's go back. Daming didn't say anything else. He nodded and quickly left. This time, Thanos didn't have any other intentions. He just wanted to understand the current situation. After all, he knew too little about the sealing of Dolua's world for 100 years. He had to discuss it with Guyuna. Tion was a smart person. After realizing that Thanos didn't have the intention to talk, he immediately said, Elder Mia, please wait for a moment. Master will be here soon. With that, he brought a few people and waited quietly by the side. Thanos stood where he was. While sensing the changes in the world, he was also paying attention to Guyuna. At this moment, in the God world, the gods had already exploded. After Ji Dong returned and explained the situation, everyone immediately used their god power and prepared to dissolve the boundary. However, the boundary was increasing too quickly. Their dissolution might be useful, but it was nothing compared to the speed of growth. Moreover, due to the boundary, the God world's connection to Dolua's world had become extremely weak. It was extremely difficult to synchronize time. Although only a dozen seconds had passed in the God world, it was almost half an hour in the lower realm. This way, it would be extremely difficult for them to enter Dolua's world again. At this moment, their great enemy, the Silver Dragon King, was in Dolua's world. The aggrieved feeling of being unable to kill an enemy that was right in front of them made the gods very depressed. See God, isn't your land of inheritance in the lower realm? There seem to be 2 other successors. Can you try to sense them? Suddenly, someone beside him said. However, the sea god smiled bitterly and shook his head. Don't even think about it. After the boundary is like this, the connection to the origin is not weak. Let alone the 2 successors, I can't even sense the guardian of the sea god's island. The boundary's obstruction to divine sense was too great. Moreover, looking at the situation in the lower realm, the barrier would only get deeper and deeper. It was almost impossible for the sea god to sense them. Then can we just watch? Someone asked helplessly. I'm afraid that's the only way. Ji Dong frowned. Unless we directly destroy the origin of Dolua's world, we can't enter at all. The God King was not omnipotent. Otherwise, the God world would not have been in chaos back then. The destruction god said, maintaining such a huge boundary requires a lot of energy. I don't think the lower realm can hold on for long. Perhaps it won't even last a month. A month in the lower realm was only 2 hours in the God world. Hearing this, many people's faces were filled with joy. Someone even said, "That's right. It shouldn't be long before we can go in again." However, Lai Yin shook her head and said, "The Silver Dragon King has inherited the elemental power of the Dragon God and contains a lot of energy. Back then, we thought that the Silver Dragon King had died in the space-time turbulence, but now she's not dead. I suspect that she still has a lot of energy stored. With this ability as a backing, I don't think the boundary will be broken in a short period of time." Hearing this, everyone also thought of this, and their faces turned slightly ugly. But soon, Lai Yen continued, everyone's understanding of the world's origin has yet to reach its peak. In my opinion, in the following time, everyone should learn more about the relevant aspects and strive to find a way to resolve the realm barrier. At this time, the situation in Dolua's world was the first time in history. All the gods did not know how to solve it. That's right. It's also the first time we've encountered such a thing. If we learn well, we might be able to find a solution. The destruction god also nodded. At this time, they had no other choice. After the discussion, everyone quickly dispersed to look through various books. At the same time, they practiced to find a way to break the boundary. The Silver Dragon King was a thorn in the side of the god world. If it was not solved, they would not be able to sleep well. Due to the seriousness of the situation, everyone was very concerned about finding a solution. As for the sea god, because of the special nature of his sea god island, the god king asked him to go to the sea god island from time to time, hoping to get a response from Poseidon. After all, the Dolua's world was dark to the god world at this time. They urgently needed to know information. Chapter 583. In front of the Great Xia Palace, in the square. At this time, Thanos and Gu Yuna were sitting opposite each other, but they were surrounded by people on both sides. Just now outside the city, Thanos only waited for a few minutes, and then Gu Yuna adjusted the array. Taking this opportunity, the two of them had a good chat for a while and talked about many things. Especially about the boundary wall. This was the most important thing, and Thanos confirmed it properly. In the end, Thanos had a sufficient understanding of the boundary wall, and now it was in a temporarily safe state. As long as there was a continuous energy input, the boundary wall would always maintain a sufficient thickness, and the gods of the divine world would not be able to enter the world of Dolua. And with the current energy reserve of the Soul Beast clan, it was enough to support the boundary wall for hundreds of years. During this period, they could also specially collect energy to extend this time. Of course, nothing was absolute. Although it was said to be very safe at the moment, Lin Feng could not completely let down his guard, and the necessary vigilance was also necessary. When the time came, he would specially study the boundary wall and then do the corresponding protective work. In this way, he could also understand the situation of the world of Dolua in real time, and he did not need to understand it from Gu Yuna. In addition to the boundary wall, Lin Feng was also very curious about Gu Yuna's identity and the grudges between her and the divine world. Taking this opportunity, he asked properly. Gu Yuna did not hide anything, and told him about the dragon god and the divine world. In the end, she also said that one day she would take back the divine world. Because it was from the perspective of the dragon god, from Gu Yuna's mouth, the Soul Beast clan was suppressed by the divine world, and had no choice but to fight back. In the end, they were defeated and had to escape to the world of Dolu. In this regard, Lin Feng did not have much opinion. Right or wrong was not important anymore. After all, things had come to this, and because of the arrogance of the divine world, Lin Feng had already become enemies with them. What he needed to do now was to develop steadily, and raise his strength to the limit in the world of Dolua. Especially the problem of the Soul Beast clan's wisdom. He needed to speed up the production of wisdom potions, so that countless soul beasts would believe in him, and how to increase his faith by a large amount. Just like that, they had a simple discussion and waited until Great Xia City had stabilized. The higher-ups from both sides had arrived at the courtyard in front of the Great Xia Palace. Because of the matter just now, the relationship between the two sides had also changed from the dark to the light. At this time, they were going to have a very important meeting to discuss the future development of Dolua's world. As for the problem of development, Lin Feng had already planned it out. In addition, the Great Xia Empire was currently in the leading position. In the end, the two sides spent about 3 days discussing and finally decided on a detailed follow-up plan. There were many small matters, but only a few could be considered major. The first method was to awaken the intelligence of a large number of low-level soul beasts and have them worship him to increase his faith. Secondly, they would integrate the entire Dolua continent and unify everything with the Great Xia Empire as the standard. Their infrastructure would also cover the entire continent. Originally, there were many difficulties in this matter, but with the cooperation of the soul beasts, these difficulties no longer existed. The third reason was to improve the strength of Tang San, the others, and himself. During this period of time, without the disturbance of the God Realm, Lin Feng had to quickly improve himself. His soul rings, ranks, and so on had to be strengthened properly. Right, there was also the final fourth point, which was the Sea God's Island. Because of the special nature of the Sea God's Island, Lin Feng was afraid that Poseidon might send a message back to the God Realm, so he specially controlled Poseidon and sent people to control the Sea God's Island. In this way, the hidden dangers were also eliminated. In this way, as the plans of the two sides unfolded, the Dolua continent could be considered to be truly unified. In the following period of time, as if someone had pressed the acceleration button, everything was pushed forward rapidly. The intelligence potion was mass-produced by Lin Feng, and the construction of the continent was also rapidly perfected. Also, Lin Feng was rapidly accumulating knowledge about the boundary wall of the Dolua world. At the same time, in the God Realm, the gods were also learning about the boundary wall. They wanted to break the boundary wall of the Dolua world, and then kill the Silver Dragon King. At this time, their control of the Dolua world had already disappeared. It was also because of this that the gods were very angry and urgently wanted to enter the Dolua world. Under such circumstances, the gods gathered the strength of the entire God realm to solve the problem of the boundary wall. The God King was at the edge of the space-time turbulence to learn the powerful spatial laws. Although it was more dangerous, the efficiency was also very high. If they were lucky, they might be able to successfully learn it in a few months. Of course, this few months was relative to the God realm. If it was the Dolua world, it would take at least 80 years. However, nothing was absolute. Maybe the God realm's luck was off the charts and they would quickly find a way. In the lower realm, although Lin Feng did not know the situation in the God realm at this time, he had a strong sense of urgency in his heart. Therefore, he was very concerned about the progress of the plan. In a year's time, the intelligence potion had been widely promoted, and the artificial soul ring technology had been completely popularized by the Great Xia Empire. At the same time, with the help of the soul beasts, the infrastructure was spread across the entire continent. For a time, the prestige of the Great Xia Empire had an unprecedented increase. Some small forces at the edge of the continent had also joined the Great Xia Empire. Then, another 3 years had passed. During this period of time, in addition to the overall strength of the empire, the upper echelons of the Great Xia Empire had also undergone a huge change. Their strength had all increased, and the extent was not small. Lin Feng and Tang San even made a trip to the Sea God Island. Of course, they did not go for the trial. Instead, they cancelled the trial and absorbed the energy in the sea god island to strengthen themselves. This kind of thing sounded a little magical, but after Lin Feng understood the essence of energy, this was a very simple thing. He only needed to break the formation and then convert the energy in it for his own use. However, this was a small matter to Lin Feng, because in these 4 years, his strength had increased by a terrifying amount. In the first year, as the soul beasts slowly gained intelligence, Lin Feng's countless avatars spread the glory of Thanos to the entire continent and deified him. In the next 3 years, the entire continent was subtly influenced by Lin Feng. In this way, his faith value increased rapidly. Compared to experience value, faith value was simply 2 different things. It was simply a suppression in terms of quality. Under the infusion of a large amount of faith value, the 1,000 trickster ruler evolved into the primordial immeasurable ruler. Lin Feng's strength also increased by a terrifying amount. Name: Lin Feng Martial Soul, Primordial Immeasurable Ruler, 9-colored Chaos Flower Soul Power, Rank 99 Primordial Immeasurable Ruler Soul Ring, Special Soul Skill, Avatar Blood Shadow Shark King, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Spatial Shatter God Bestowed Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Sharpness God Bestowed Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Paralysis God Bestowed Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Life Absorption Deep Sea Demonic Whale King, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Deep Sea Domain Man-Made Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Soulbreaker Man-Made Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Martial Soul True Body Man-Made Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, God Trapping Man-Made Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Soul Spear 9-colored Chaos Flower Soul Ring, Snowy Lotus, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Life Bloom Ghosthead Predatory Spider, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Shadow Bind Armor Giant Bear, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Holy Armored Demonic Bear Transformation Raging Demonic Monkey, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Raging Sea of Flames Nether Civet, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Nether Body Lightning Falcon, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Thunderbolt Strength Wind Dragon, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Martial Soul True Body Chinkuan Blood Shadow Beast, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Teleportation Man-Made Soul Ring, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill, Resurrection Soul Bone, Wind Dragon Left Leg Bone, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill 1, Hasaru Soul Skill 2, Wind Invisibility Chinkuan Blood Shadow Beast Skull, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill 1, Spatial Imprisonment Soul Skill 2, Blood Fiend Blood Shadow Shark King Right Leg Bone, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill 1, Spatial Travel Soul Skill 2, Berserk Sharp Claw Demon Ape Left Arm Bone, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill 1, Space Rending Soul Skill 2, Ape Howl Deep Sea Demon Whale King Torso Bone, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill 1, Sea's Breath Soul Skill 2, Fury of the Sea Tree of Life Right Arm Bone, 1,000,000 years, plus, Soul Skill 1, Life Force Soul Skill 2, Resurrection Experience Points, 12243772311 Faith Points, 6459. It had to be said that man-made soul rings were a good thing. With this, Lin Feng, not only did he save a lot of faith points, but he also received a huge boost in strength. The soul skills obtained from these man-made soul rings were very powerful. Soul Breaker was similar to the previous Sharpness and Paralysis. It was a status-type soul skill. After being blessed, it could harm the soul of others. As for God Trapping, it was a very powerful control-type soul skill. Just by hearing the name, one could tell how powerful it was. It could even trap a god. With Lin Feng's current strength, even the sea god couldn't break free in an instant. There was also Soul Spear, Lin Feng's 9th soul skill. It was very powerful and could destroy people at the soul level. Even when facing a strong opponent, it could also injure the opponent's soul. It could be said to be a great killing weapon. The other ninth soul skill was called resurrection. That's right. It literally meant that it could resurrect people. There was no time limit. As long as one was weaker than Lin Feng and still had a remnant soul, no matter how long they died, they could be resurrected. With this soul skill, Lin Feng only needed to keep a little of Tang San's and Xiao Wu's souls. No matter what they did, they wouldn't have to worry about their lives. There was also the Tree of Life's right arm bone. It was a soul bone that Gu Yuna had given to Lin Feng. It was originally a 100,000-year soul bone, but Lin Feng had strengthened it to a 1,000,000-year soul bone. As for the soul skill, although it had a strong healing effect, it was still a far cry from Lin Feng's own martial soul. Overall, after a few years of growth, Lin Feng's strength had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. However, Lin Feng still hadn't reached the peak of his strength. Originally, Lin Feng thought that after reaching rank 90 and upgrading all his soul rings to the 1,000,000-year level, he would be able to reach the peak of Dolua's world. But now, it seemed that he was still a bit off. He needed to reach rank 100 first. Furthermore, Lin Feng could sense that he was at a critical point. If he could really break through to rank 100, not only would his strength undergo a qualitative change, but his soul rings, soul bones, and so on would also undergo a qualitative change. If he wanted to break through to rank 100, he only needed 10,000 faith points. Currently, he had more than 6,000 faith points. As his believers increased, the speed at which he gained faith points increased greatly. At this rate, Lin Feng would be able to accumulate 10,000 faith points in half a year at most. During this time, Lin Feng would also think of a way to raise Tang San and the others' strength to rank 99 and prepare to condense a godhood. This was a bit impatient, but it couldn't be helped. Although Dolua's world was incomparably safe now, Lin Feng felt an immense pressure in his heart as his strength increased. This pressure came from none other than the realm of gods. There wasn't much time left. Although Gu Yuna said that they could defend for at least 100 years, Lin Feng felt that it couldn't be that long. After all, the gods of the realm of gods weren't fools. They could find a new way to enter Dolua's world at any time. Therefore, Lin Feng was currently in a hurry to raise the strength of the others. Fortunately, Lin Feng had already thoroughly researched soul power. In addition, he had man-made soul ring technology, and especially the power of faith that he now possessed. With all these factors combined, Lin Feng was confident that he could quickly raise everyone to rank 100. While the soul masters of the Great Xia Empire were rapidly raising their strength in the realm of gods, several god kings in the realm of gods joined forces and tried to communicate with the origin of Dolua's world of gods. This was an extremely difficult task, and no one knew about it before. In fact, these god kings weren't very confident in their attempts. They just happened to discover a method by accident. But now, they couldn't think of any other way. They could only keep trying to communicate with the origin. If they succeeded, they would be able to enter Dolua's world in an instant. It could be said that both sides were racing against time. Under this tense atmosphere, half a year quickly passed. Today was a special day. Because Lin Feng, Tang San, Xiao Wu, Ning Rongrong, and the others were all preparing to break through to rank 100 today. If they broke through together, they could create an atmosphere with a high concentration of energy. It was beneficial for everyone, and it could greatly increase the success rate of breaking through. Therefore, Lin Feng came up with this plan. Everyone was currently in the backyard of the Great Xia Palace. This was a place that Lin Feng specially opened up. It was surrounded by a powerful formation. Even if everyone broke through together, it wouldn't cause too much of an impact. Moreover, this formation could gather energy together, making it easier for soul masters to break through. In the past few years, Lin Feng had gained a lot of understanding of the deity position. Lin Feng also had a lot of understanding of the power of laws. Most importantly, he turned this understanding into knowledge and passed it to Tang San and the others. At this moment, everyone had a certain understanding of their own strength and laws. What they needed to do was to borrow the energy of Lin Feng's breakthrough and condense their own deity positions. Lin Feng could predict that when he broke through, there would definitely be a lot of energy raging. After all, the breakthrough of a million-year soul ring had so much energy. Now that he had broken through to rank 100, it would be a qualitative change. At that time, everyone would be able to obtain blessings because of this. As the saying goes, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. At this moment, everyone was ready. While meditating in the middle of a large number of soul stones, their eyes were fixed on Lin Feng. At the same time, Lin Feng also swept his gaze across everyone's faces. After nodding, he didn't hesitate and used the 10,000 faith points that he had accumulated for a long time to increase his level. In an instant, a huge amount of energy emerged from Lin Feng's body and scattered wantonly in this formation. At the same time, Lin Feng's body, starting from his heart, bloomed with a dazzling golden light. The light spread in all directions and quickly spread to his entire body. At this moment, Lin Feng's body was covered with a total of 18 golden halos. It was very dazzling and everyone couldn't even look directly at it. Faintly, all the soul bones in Lin Feng's body also turned golden. And above Lin Feng's head, a small golden ball began to slowly appear. The golden soul rings and soul bones around his body seemed to be gathering towards that ball. Previously, Lin Feng had a feeling that when he broke through to rank 100, there would definitely be a huge change. And now, this small ball and the golden light on its body were the changes. The golden light was because the power in his body had undergone an extreme transformation, turning into a very special kind of divine power. This kind of power was similar to the divine power of the God realm, but it seemed to be slightly stronger. And the small ball was the embryonic form of Lin Feng's godly tablet. It contained a large amount of faith power, and when the energy was condensing, Lin Feng also scattered the divine power that he had extracted from the Sea God's island and let it fuse with it. Although these changes were very new to everyone, they weren't too surprised because Lin Feng had already guessed before. But soon, Lin Feng discovered that the soul bones and soul rings in his body were all fusing towards the small ball. It wasn't just a fusion of energy, but a fusion of everything. It felt like the soul rings and soul bones were one. That wasn't all. At this moment, Lin Feng felt that the small ball seemed to be undergoing a huge change that even he couldn't grasp. However, this huge change couldn't be completed in a short time. Lin Feng didn't pay attention to it at all. Instead, he waved his hand and scattered the energy in all directions. Everyone, hurry up and break through. Although Lin Feng's breakthrough had attracted everyone's attention, everyone quickly closed their eyes and began to meditate when they heard Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng had told them before that this kind of breakthrough opportunity would disappear in the blink of an eye, and they didn't want to waste it. In an instant, everyone took out all the preparations they had made before. They absorbed the energy and condensed their godly tablets. On Lin Feng's side, the transformation was still ongoing. The clones he had placed all over the continent had all disappeared and merged into his main body. Even the clones outside the array were not spared and were all merged into his main body. At this moment, Lin Feng's two martial souls naturally appeared and merged with the small ball. There seemed to be a world brewing in the small ball, causing Lin Feng to be incomparably shocked. And this absorption speed was getting faster and faster. After half an hour, Lin Feng discovered that his soul rings, soul bones, and even martial souls had all merged into the small ball. Ding! Congratulations, host, the embryonic form of the world has been completed. Hearing this notification, Lin Feng was shocked. What? Embryonic form of the world? Does this mean that he created a world? To be honest, Lin Feng didn't expect this at all. He knew that breaking through level 100 would bring about a huge change, but he didn't expect that condensing a godly tablet would actually create a world. This was too shocking. Just as Lin Feng had this thought, the small ball suddenly fell and entered between Lin Feng's eyebrows. At this moment, Lin Feng's divine sense was myriad, and he instantly comprehended the power of the entire world. This was a newly established world, and its area wasn't big. It used Lin Feng's 2 martial souls as the source of the world, and the soul rings and soul bones as the source of energy. It was very basic. However, Lin Feng knew that as long as he continued to fill the world with the power of faith, his world would continue to be perfected, and its area would also increase. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before it could become bigger than Dolua's world. Even the divine realm would be able to catch up, or even surpass the divine realm. And the prerequisite for all of this was sufficient power of faith. Thinking of this, a new plan appeared in Lin Feng's mind. That was to move the living beings of Dolua's world into his own world. This way, his world could grow rapidly, and at the same time, he could obtain a large amount of power of faith. Right, the godly tablets that Tang San and the others condensed were all based on the divine realm. Now that Lin Feng had his own world, he could completely let them use his world as the base, and condense their own world's godly tablet. This way, Lin Feng and Tang San and the others would be one. This approach, from the current situation, was beneficial without any harm. After all, the gods of the divine realm were their enemies at this time. Doing this could allow Lin Feng's strength to be strengthened tremendously. Thinking of this, Lin Feng didn't hesitate and quickly used the source power of his world to support everyone sitting there. Fuse your soul power into it. This is the foundation of your godly tablets. Lin Feng gave a low shout as if they were enlightened. Everyone didn't hesitate and quickly did as Lin Feng said. In these years, Lin Feng helped them greatly in increasing their strength, and those methods and theories also made them incomparably convinced. Therefore, at this time, they didn't have the slightest doubt about what Lin Feng said. At the same time, when everyone was condensing their godly tablets, in the divine realm, the 5 great divine kings' faces all turned cold. Not only them, the first-level gods and even the second-level gods all had a special feeling. The divine realm. It was no longer the only one. This feeling was very absurd, because in the knowledge of the gods, the divine realm was a product of the combination of the sources of the 10,000 worlds, and it was unique. The divine realm was a world that all the lower realms wanted to pursue. But now this uniqueness had actually disappeared. This meant that among the 10,000 worlds, another world that was similar to the divine realm had appeared. If the people of the lower realms wanted to ascend, they would have a second choice in the future. This kind of thing was too magical, no one understood what was going on. But in the next second, the 5 great divine kings all discovered that an extremely huge energy fluctuation came from Dolua's world, and it was exactly the same as the fluctuation of the new world that they sensed before. At this time, they all knew that the new world was born in Dolua's world. And in this case, there were only 2 people who had the ability to create a new world: Lin Feng or Gu Yuna. No matter who it was not a good thing for the divine realm, because this meant that their opponents had become stronger. Thinking of this, the 5 great divine kings' faces all changed. But soon, they discovered that because of the birth of the new world, the energy was wantonly spreading, and the thick boundary wall of Dolua's world had become much thinner. Good chance. Let's communicate with the source of the world as soon as possible. Someone shouted. The 5 of them did not hesitate and quickly used their divine power, sensing towards Dolua's world together. Soon, their faces were filled with joy. Great! We finally communicated with the source of the world. That's right, after a difficult communication, the 5 of them finally connected with the source of Dolua's world. Maintain it! Lai Yin shouted, I'll move the divine mirror over. At this moment, although they were connected with the source of Dolua's world, it was not stable, and the thickness of the boundary wall was still increasing. The divine mirror had the effect of penetrating the boundary wall, so moving it over should be able to stabilize the connection. As expected, as soon as Lai Yan's voice fell, she directly teleported to the Committee of the Divine Realm, and then moved the divine mirror to the edge of the space-time turbulence. The 5 great divine kings did not make a sound, but tacitly made a move at the same time, using the power of the divine mirror to stabilize the connection. At this moment, their faces were filled with excitement, because they knew that they had broken through a hole in the thick defense of Dolua's world. What they had to do next was to gather the power of the divine realm and use this hole as a breakthrough point to enter Dolua's world. After understanding this, the 5 great divine kings immediately gathered the power of the divine realm and prepared to enter Dolua's world. At the same time, in the great Xia Palace, Lin Feng's face also froze as he looked at the sky. He sensed that a small hole had been opened in the boundary wall of Dolua's world, and it did not close quickly. Instead, it was maintained by someone. In the Star Do Great Forest, Gu Yuna also sensed this. She first tried to see if she could close it. After discovering that it was useless, she did not hesitate too much and quickly rushed towards the Great Xia Palace with the powerhouses of the Soul Beast clan. The Divine Realm was about to attack. The only thing she could do now was to join forces with the Great Xia Empire to resist first. If she really could not resist, she would immediately escape with her clansmen. After all, the pressure on Gu Yuna was too great. She could not die here. Ding! Your world has condensed a new deity position, the strength of the world has increased. Faith value plus 1674, ding! Your world has condensed a new deity position, the strength of the world has increased. Faith value plus 1531, ding! Your world has condensed a new deity position, the strength of the world has increased. Faith value plus 2814. At this moment, as the energy fluctuations in the formation grew larger and larger, Tang San, Ning Rongrong, and the others' deity positions condensed one after another. These were all the deity positions in Lin Feng's world, which greatly increased his power. Among them, the weaker ones only increased Lin Feng's faith value by a little more than 1,000. However, for people like Xiao Wu and Tang San, it increased by at least 2,500. Some even increased by 3,000. Moreover, this kind of increase was not just an increase in faith value. Lin Feng realized that the range of his world was also expanding rapidly. This kind of rapid increase in power was like sitting on a rocket. It was a very satisfying feeling. However, Lin Feng could not feel happy at this moment because he sensed that the divine realm was making a move. Chapter 584. In the sky above the Grand Xia Palace, Gu Yuna brought the powerhouses of the Soul Beast clan to this place and immediately transmitted a message to Lin Feng, telling him about the realm wall. I already know about this matter. Lin Feng just replied calmly, not too flustered. At this moment, his strength had increased too much, and the formation of a new world meant that he had reached a whole new height. This height was enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with the creator of the divine world, and even surpass the other party. Perhaps because the world was just created, its strength was on the weaker side. But even if facing the entire divine world, Lin Feng was not too flustered because with his own world, he was already in an invincible position. Just as this thought arose in Lin Feng's mind, in the sky above the Grand Xia Palace, a huge spatial crack was instantly torn open. In the next second, the gods of the divine world led by the 5 great godly kings directly appeared in the sky. That powerful pressure enveloped the entire city. For a moment, countless people trembled, and the weak ones were so frightened that they did not dare to move at all. On Gu Yuna's side, everyone's expression was also solemn. Although they were not afraid, in their hearts, they were still somewhat nervous. After all, those were godly kings. Even the dragon god back then was no match for such a powerful god. The reason why they still dared to stand here now was mainly because of Lin Feng. When he had broken through just now, even Gu Yuna had been shocked by the power he had displayed. From his body, Gu Yuna even saw a power that surpassed the dragon god. Although she did not know the reason, at this moment, Gu Yuna believed that with Lin Feng here, they did not need to be afraid of the gods. If it was 4 years ago, Gu Yuna would not have such trust in Lin Feng and Thanos at all, and would not risk the future of her soul beast clan. But with these years of understanding, the strength of the Grand Xia Empire had completely convinced Gu Yuna. Especially Lin Feng, the other party's current strength was simply too terrifying through learning and talking with her, and his comprehension of laws was also extremely deep. It could be said that in all the worlds, including the divine world, Gu Yuna had never seen a living being with such talent. This could no longer be called a genius, it was simply a miracle. Thanos of the Grand Xia Empire is harboring a wanted criminal of the God Realm, Gu Yuna. Today, the God Realm has descended to the lower realm to kill Thanos and Gu Yuna. In the sky, a dignified voice suddenly sounded. These words could not only be heard by those in the vicinity of Grand Xia City, but also by all living beings in Dolua's world. However, when faced with the words of justice from the divine realm, everyone snorted disdainfully. After 4 years of development, almost all the ordinary people and soul masters in Dolua's world were Lin Feng's believers. Under such circumstances, the God Realm was a complete enemy to them. At this moment, all these words were bullshit. Everyone in the great Xia city looked at the gods with eyes full of hostility. At this moment, Lin Feng waved his hand and the power of the world spread out. In the next second, the deity positions of Tang San and the others quickly condensed and formed, and they woke up from their deep sleep. Then, Lin Feng rushed into the sky and said indifferently, "Cut the crap, if you want to fight, then let's fight." Previously, the hatred between Lin Feng and the God Realm was mainly due to the people. His goal was at most to kill or subdue these gods. But now, with the birth of his new world, his goal had undergone a fundamental change. Because compared to the gods in the God Realm itself was what Lin Feng needed more. That was the essence of the myriad worlds. The power of the world's origin was incomparably powerful. After Lin Feng absorbed it, his own God Realm would quickly become as powerful as the God Realm. Moreover, he had the system. When the myriad worlds worshipped him, his faith value would increase even faster. With faith value to strengthen his world, it would not be long before the strength of his world would exceed everyone's imagination. Arrogant! The sea god shouted, "Today will be the day of your death." The sea god was originally looking forward to Lin Feng, his successor. However, so many things happened later, in addition to the destruction of the Sea God Island and the interruption of the inheritance. He had sensed all of these. Now, the Sea God did not have a good impression of Lin Feng and Tang San. "It's not certain who will die." Tang San also flew into the sky and said calmly, "Maybe today will be the day of your death." As his voice fell, Xiao Wu, Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, and the others, who had broken through in the formation, all flew into the sky. Everyone gathered together, and their auras soared into the sky. They could faintly compete with the gods in front of the space crack. In the past few years, Lin Feng was not the only one who knew about his worries. He used various methods to hint to everyone that the God Realm might attack in advance. Therefore, although everyone was surprised by what was happening at this time, they did not panic too much. In fact, because of the increase in their strength, they were somewhat eager to give it a try. "Well said." Lin Feng laughed. "It's time to put an end to these things today." At this time, Lin Feng's strength had increased greatly, and this increase was completely beyond his expectations. Even if the God Realm did not come down to find him, it would not be long before he fought his way up. Seeing that Lin Feng and the others were full of fighting spirit, the sea god did not waste any more words. The few godly kings looked at each other and quickly communicated with each other. At the same time, they got the gods to set up the formation. Don't think that you can fight us at level 100. You're still far from it. As the disdainful words fell, the few godly kings attacked at the same time. The power of laws turned into a huge net and attacked Lin Feng and the others. The power of the new world was shocking, and Lin Feng and the others' aura was also extremely strong. However, in their hearts, the few godly kings did not think that Lin Feng and the others could surpass the entire god realm. After all, the difference between the two was too great. Their god realm was the accumulation of power for countless years. Now that they were moving out in full force, their strength was equivalent to gathering the power of the entire god realm to attack. Under such circumstances, even if the dragon god revived, he would not be their match. No matter how strong Lin Feng and the others were, it was impossible for them to compare to the dragon god. At this moment, the gods of the god realm all had this thought. Lin Feng and the others, under the torrent of the god realm, only death awaited them. The huge net of the power of laws instantly condensed in front of everyone, as if everyone would be crushed in the next second. However, in the next instant the huge net actually shattered. It suddenly dissipated without a sound. This situation shocked the gods incomparably. Similarly, on the other side, Lin Feng looked at his hands with the same shock in his eyes. That's right, just now it was Lin Feng who made a move. It was an attempt to test the power of his own world. Originally, Lin Feng knew that his current strength was very strong, and his power was also a level higher than divine power. However, this improvement, due to the weak nature of the world, Lin Feng estimated that there would not be a qualitative change. But now, it told Lin Feng in real time that he was much stronger than he imagined. Facing the joint attack of several great god kings, the power was incomparably powerful. He merely used a little bit of his world power and shattered it. This already looked like a kind of dimensionality reduction. It was also precisely because of this that Lin Feng knew that the following battle was no longer a problem. How is this possible? Such a powerful attack was actually easily resolved. This is impossible. At this moment, the gods all had faces of disbelief, because this scene had completely exceeded their understanding. Such a powerful power of laws, even in the god realm, it was an extremely shocking attack. No one in the entire god realm could block it. However, Lin Feng easily resolved it. It was simply too shocking. As for Tang San and the rest, they did not know the strength of the god king's joint attack. Hence, they were not too surprised. However, judging from these gods' shocked expressions, Lin Feng's strength was much stronger than theirs. There are many things that are impossible. Lin Feng smiled faintly. As his voice fell, he did not waste any more words and directly flipped his hand. In the next second, the world power turned into a cage and instantly enveloped the gods, trapping them on the spot. These gods reacted and fought back together. However, Lin Feng's energy was no longer something they could understand. The difference was like the difference between soul power and divine power, the difference between heaven and earth. If the gods wanted to break the cage with their divine power, it was simply wishful thinking. Come out! Lin Feng shouted in a low voice and raised his other hand slightly. All the gods froze. In the next second, their bodies emitted a dazzling golden light, and the golden light was still spreading outward. That's right, this was the deity position in these gods' bodies. Lin Feng used the world power to extract the power of their deity positions, and then added it to his own world. This action was very fast, and it was completed almost instantly. At this moment, the gods directly lost their deity positions, and their strength was rapidly depleting. Because they were extremely weak, these gods slowly lost the ability to fly in the air and fell rapidly to the ground. Originally, Lin Feng did not know about this move. However, after he used his world energy for the first time, he naturally understood the countless ways to use it. It was as if he was born with it. Lin Feng already knew all the methods to control the world power. Feng Ge is so strong. Tang San's eyes were filled with amazement. Lin Feng was very strong and everyone knew this. However, so many years had passed, and because of the problem of the upper limit of Dolua's world, everyone had not seen Lin Feng fight for a long time. They did not expect that the moment he attacked, he actually killed all the gods in an instant. This sudden scene still shocked everyone, and they were not mentally prepared at all. In the next second, everyone realized that their strength was rapidly increasing. This kind of increase was very mysterious, and it was not something they could control. However, it appeared physically, and it could be manifested. Just as everyone was puzzled, Lin Feng's voice sounded in everyone's mind. The deity positions that you condensed when you broke through just now are actually from another world. Just now, I extracted these people's deity powers, and then integrated them into that world. And as the newborn gods of that world, your strength has been greatly enhanced. Lin Feng didn't try to hide anything. Instead, he told them all the reasons. This could not be hidden, and there was no need to hide it anymore. The deity world was naturally formed by the myriad worlds. Perhaps it had a spirit, but it was only the very weak kind. However, the world that Lin Feng condensed was controlled by him. Perhaps there was a difference in quantity between the two, but in terms of quality, Lin Feng's phone had a great advantage. At this moment, he only needed to continuously devour the deity world, and he would soon be able to devour it. Ah! My deity powers have disappeared. What's going on? I can't sense my deity position. At this moment, everyone was extremely confused. They did not know what had happened, and they had suddenly become extremely weak. Originally, they were still restraining themselves, hoping not to cause too much of a commotion. This way, they could reduce the damage to the world's origin. But now, they did not need to restrain themselves, because their strength was so weak that they could not shake the origin at all. Capture them! Lin Feng waved his hand and said indifferently. Hearing this, Tang San and the others immediately recovered from their shock and immediately went forward to capture all the gods. At the same time, in Great Xia City, countless soul masters and commoners were cheering. They only saw someone provoking and saying ruthless words, and then Lin Feng attacked and easily defeated the enemy. In the end, the enemy was subdued. This enemy was the gods of the deity world. This greatly reflected the strength of the Great Xia Empire, and countless people were proud of it. At this moment, what happened in Great Xia City was broadcasted to the entire continent. The power of faith surged toward Lin Feng like a torrential spring. Looking at the rapidly increasing faith value on the system interface, Lin Feng revealed a faint smile. These people are no longer a threat. Lock them up first. Xiao San, Xiao Wu. The rest of you, follow me to the deity world. Lin Feng named some people and said. Lin Feng originally thought that there would be a fierce battle between him and the deity world, but his strength had increased too much, and the fierce battle naturally disappeared. Moreover, the strongest group of people in the deity world had been detained, and now there was no resistance. At this time, he brought Tang San and the others up just to satisfy their curiosity. Yes. Everyone answered loudly, and they were all very excited. In an instant, the gods were taken away, and Tang San and the others quickly gathered by Lin Feng's side. As for Gu Yuna, at this time, she was already so shocked that she did not know what to say. In a short 3 years, she never expected Lin Feng's strength to increase at such a terrifying speed. But this was a great thing. In the past few years, she was also a little worried about the decision at the beginning. She was afraid that she would make the wrong choice and let the Soul Beast clan be destroyed in the end. Now, it seemed that her choice was really right. Now, they only needed to tightly hug Lin Feng's thigh, and the Soul Beast clan would no longer have to be afraid of being destroyed by the deity world. At this time, Lin Feng looked like he was going to attack the deity world. It would not be long before the Soul Beast clan would have a bright future. Half a day later, Lin Feng quietly floated in front of the world origin of the deity world. In the half a day just now, Lin Feng and Tang San had toured the entire deity world. All the gods with deity positions had their power extracted by Lin Feng. Even the godly power of the godly officials was extracted by Lin Feng. It could not be helped. The strongest group of people in the deity world were instantly killed by Lin Feng in Doluo world. At this time, the deity world was full of weaklings. Lin Feng could suppress them with a wave of his hand. Collect. In front of the world origin, Lin Feng did not hesitate. With a wave of his hand, he began to extract the deity world's origin power. In an instant, the origin power began to turn into starlight that filled the sky and surged toward the world in Lin Feng's hand. One had to admit that the deity world's origin power was very abundant. After all, it was the core of the myriad world. Who knew how many years it had been accumulated? At this time, it would take a lot of time to absorb it. Just as Lin Feng was absorbing it, the world origin suddenly shook. In the next second, a transparent figure appeared and instantly attacked Lin Feng. This was the world spirit of the deity world. He wasn't angry at all. The world spirit simply wanted to stop him. However, the other party's strength was as Lin Feng thought before. It was too weak. Not only did it have no intelligence, it could not even use the world spirit. Lin Feng just waved his hand. As the world spirit surged, the world spirit was easily dispersed. However, the other party did not perish. It just disappeared temporarily. Soon, it recondensed and quickly rushed toward Lin Feng. However, this was just a useless effort. This world spirit was too weak. It was destroyed by Lin Feng time and time again. As the deity world's origin power became less and less, gradually, the world spirit could not be condensed. At this moment, the entire deity world was shaking. Everywhere was breaking. In the deity world, Tang San and the rest had already arrived at the deity world committee. Lin Feng set up a barrier here. It was safe enough. Even if the deity world exploded, nothing would happen. Previously, Lin Feng specifically reminded them. Therefore, even if the deity world was in chaos, they did not panic too much. Just like this, about 3 days passed. Under Lin Feng's continuous absorption, the entire deity world finally could not bear it and collapsed. At this point, the deity world was easily destroyed by Lin Feng. It was a little unexpected. After all, this was too sudden. The deity world was so powerful, but it was easily destroyed by Lin Feng. Different from other people's surprise and shock, to Lin Feng himself, this was all within reason. After all, the power of faith increased his strength too much. Especially in these few years, Lin Feng did not slack off in the slightest. He carefully planned his future and became stronger step by step. Now that he destroyed the deity world, it was just the beginning of his control of the myriad worlds. Next, what he wanted to do was to turn all the creatures in the myriad worlds into his believers. This way, the faith value would increase at a terrifying speed, and his world would quickly become stronger under the infusion of the power of faith, surpassing the original deity world and even transcending the myriad worlds. This deity world committee is quite impressive. Let's take it as a trophy. Lin Feng nodded. With a wave of his hand, the entire building of the deity world committee was captured by Lin Feng into his world. And in his world, Lin Feng was the master of the world. With a thought, the mountains and rivers changed greatly. After a period of organizing, Lin Feng set a suitable law for his world. Everything changed greatly from chaos to a beautiful appearance. These laws were like the laws of a country and the rules of the world. As long as they were set, they would generally not be changed. At most, they would be optimized in the details. Don't think that this was done casually by Lin Feng. On the contrary, It was almost integrated with his lifetime of comprehension. Whether it was soul power, divine power, or the power of the world, and all the comprehension of the world, skills, and so on, it was all in it. It could be said that at this time, Lin Feng and his world had merged into one. There was no distinction between them. After doing this, Lin Feng immediately returned to Dolua's world. And he didn't stop, but directly entered the origin of Dolua's world. What he wanted to do now was not to absorb this origin, but to integrate the entire Dolua's world into his own world. After all, this place was Lin Feng's base. In Dolua's world, Lin Feng cared about too many things. This process was not complicated. It could even be said to be very simple. After all, Lin Feng had absorbed the power of the entire deity world. Now that his strength had increased greatly, integrating Dolua's world into himself was a very simple matter. Just like this, it only took a few minutes. Under Lin Feng's careful absorption, Dolua's world finally integrated into his own world. After all, it was the first time trying to integrate into a world. It was impossible to say that he was not nervous. Now that he saw that the integration was successful, Lin Feng was still very happy. As the saying goes, when a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. Now that Lin Feng's strength had a qualitative improvement, it could be said that he had achieved the Tao. And Tang San and the rest, who were close to Lin Feng, also obtained a huge increase in strength in his world. It could be said that the status of Tang San and the rest now was like the few great divine kings in the deity world, incomparably noble. In the beginning, everyone was not very used to this change. But as time passed, the world's laws became more and more perfect. Gradually, everyone slowly accepted the current situation. In a blink of an eye, a month's time passed. Although this 1 month's time was not long, to Lin Feng, it was a brand new beginning. After the world was condensed, his strength was increasing every day, especially when he was still annexing new worlds in a very planned way. It could not be said that he was annexing. It was just that he was introducing the creatures in those worlds into his own world and then devouring their world's origin. In this way, Lin Feng's faith value increased like a rocket, slowly increasing. Tang San and the rest were now the divine kings of Lin Feng's world. It could be said that they were bound together with Lin Feng for good or ill. The two were mutual. If Lin Feng became stronger, Tang San and the rest would also benefit and their strength would increase greatly. Although it was only a month's time, because of the rapid expansion of Lin Feng's world, the weakest among them now had the strength of a divine king. Those who were slightly stronger had basically reached the strength of the dragon god. As for the strongest, Lin Feng, he didn't know what to say about his current strength. Because at this moment, in this myriad of worlds, Lin Feng was already the strongest existence. Lin Feng didn't know how strong Lin Feng was, so he didn't know how strong Lin Feng was. Originally, Lin Feng could understand his own situation through the system. However, as his world became stronger and stronger, in the process of strengthening, his system actually upgraded. At this time, it was still upgrading, so Lin Feng was unable to use it. However, Lin Feng did not care about these, because when one's strength reached a certain level, some things that he cared about and paid attention to before no longer seemed important. At this time, Lin Feng's character slowly became like a salted fish, just like the original gods of the divine world. Now, he strolled around every day, managed the world, played with Rongrong, Take Chi and the rest. This kind of leisurely life was still very good. Of course, strictly speaking, these were only the surface, because in a deeper plan, Lin Feng was opening up new worlds. To be precise, he inherited the original divine world's plan to find more worlds, so that his world would be stronger. Previously, the reason why the divine world came into contact with Lin Feng was because he had the aura of a different world on him. They wanted to use this to open up a passage to another world and then explore. After Lin Feng absorbed the entire divine world, he realized that this matter could not be said to be easily successful. It needed to be fully prepared. Now Lin Feng was doing this. He wanted to see what a different world was like. At this time, Lin Feng was already the strongest in the myriad of worlds. Without any challenges in his future life, he was still a little lonely. Therefore, finding a new world and exploring it was Lin Feng's current priority. Another important reason was that when the system was upgrading, it did not tell him how long it would take. However, intuition told Lin Feng that if he could go to a different world, the system might finish upgrading in advance. Curiosity and the system's upgrade, these two fundamental reasons were driving Lin Feng. Under the drive of these two forces, Lin Feng stabilized his world while studying a way to enter a different world. Just like that, half a year later, on this day, Tang San and everyone else came to Lin Feng's side. There was no other reason. Lin Feng had found the entrance to a new world, and today, he was ready to go in and explore it. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Feng with anticipation, admiration, and hope in their eyes. Since that battle, Lin Feng had told them a lot of things that had happened to him. For example, Thanos was an avatar, and the Marvel family and so on. After hearing this, everyone was no longer surprised at this time. After all, Lin Feng had even done something like opening up a new world. This kind of small matter was really nothing. At this time, everyone had the same idea as Lin Feng. They were full of expectations for the new world. This was Lin Feng's future, and it was also their future. Because in this universe, they were already the strongest, and they urgently needed new power to improve themselves. Just like that, under everyone's expectations, Lin Feng held his breath. The formation was activated. At this moment, the light from the different worlds shone on everyone, and a brand new starry sky appeared in front of everyone. So beautiful! Everyone could not help but murmur. At the same time, the long-awaited system prompt sounded in Lin Feng's mind. Ding! The door to a new world has been detected. System upgrade complete. Hearing this sound at this moment, Lin Feng's eyes were full of stars. He was full of expectations for the future. End of book. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.